think it's very unfair that you guys make people cry before speaking. Good morning. Is it still morning? Good afternoon. Sorry, I need a moment. So this is so sweet. I want to start with the lessons I have learned at Barry University. And I'm going to start with one of my favorite professors, my biggest fangirl. She's the first one to pop up and clap for me, Dr. Nadege Green in the English department. But she was my professor in several classes. At one point, she was like, "Are you taking all of my classes?" I'm like, "Pretty much." And what I want to share around Dr. Greenbaum's lessons at Barry, it was about writing, but it was so much more than just writing. In the English department, she was very medium agnostic. It didn't matter where you were writing, but it was about what you were writing. How do you write factual information? How to do research? Who is your audience? What do you want them to know? And why? Is there a call for action? Is there a demand? That looked like magazine writing. Magazine writing was particularly hard for me. I struggled in that class. It was not my favorite class. And I never knew that I would actually write for a magazine, but the first magazine I would write for is The Atlantic, and then Harper's Bazaar. I am a published journalist with the Miami Herald, who has a table here, allegedly. But the first place I was published was at Barry University. I wrote for the Barry newspaper. And I was first published in a Barry University journal, what oft was thought, which was the English Honor Society journal. And so long before my work would appear in Harper's Bazaar or The Atlantic or in the Miami Herald or on NPR, it appeared first at Barry University. And those lessons resonate with me, like the power of writing, what it means to be a good communicator, because how else do we know each other? Barry is rooted in social justice, that was very clear, and I grew up in a liberation theology Black Catholic church at Notre Dame d'Haïti Catholic Church in Little Haiti, where all of the protests for Black immigrant rights started and ended in the early 90s and in the 80s as well. Another faculty member at Barry who was instrumental in the way I approach my work was Sister Sarah Fairbanks. Someone said it's always the nuns, and it truly is. And Sister Fairbanks Sister Sarah was the faculty advisor for Pax Christi, which was the social justice Catholic organization on campus. And it was rooted, again, in justice. And so we went out and we supported the Coalition of Immokalee Farm Workers in their campaign for 1 penny more, or as we would say in Spanish as well, un centavo más, which was the campaign to force Taco Bell and McDonald's, the fast food system, to pay 1 penny more to the people who make it possible for the CEOs to be multimillionaires. And that campaign at Barry absolutely radicalized me. Because what does it mean to show up in resistance? What does it mean to show up not just with words, but with your body? What does it mean to show up fully for each other in service? Not to just say the thing, but to do the thing. We actually went to Chicago to protest McDonald's at their headquarters, and the day that we got there, McDonald's conceded and gave the farm workers 1 penny more, and that became a win in this campaign and a celebration. Today, I'm the Director of Community Research and Storytelling at Community Justice Project. We have a whole table over there. And Community Justice Project is a movement lawyering law firm filled with researchers, lawyers, artists around justice and social change in Florida. Our team recently came back from Switzerland, Geneva at the United Nations, uplifting the stories around the descent to fascism and authoritarianism in the state of Florida. One of the young voices that was included in that report is a Miami Northwestern High School student, the school that I graduated from in Liberty City, Proud Bull. And my high school principal, Dr. Gallen, is here and is now a school board member. But Ebony is in that report, and I remember the lessons I learned from Sister Sarah around how do we support youth and justice, because their voices matter. And in the report that was submitted to the United Nations, she writes about her fear around the censorship of Black history and queer history for young people in our public school systems. Because what is justice if we can't learn real history? What is justice if history is whitewashed? What is justice if the only history we know is the history that makes people comfortable, or some people comfortable? And so I founded Black Miami-Dade long before we saw these attacks on Black history on a state level, on a national level, because I'm from here and I care about this place. Dr. Enid Pinckney, who was shouted out earlier, I absolutely adore and thank you for all the work that you do. Dr. Pinckney is the reason why the only Green Book era hotel in Miami still stands today, the historic Hampton House. And I started Black Miami-Dade because it was clear to me that despite the work that Dr. Enid Pinckney has done, despite the work that so many Black folks in Miami have done, a lot of our history remains invisible. And not because it is, but because it is made so. So which stories we tell, which ones we see, and which ones we don't see matter. And so I always invite, and I'm gonna ask you all to take part in this activity when I go out. It's gonna involve raising your hand if you're able to do so. So if you're able to tell me about the Montgomery bus boycott or desegregating schools as it relates to the Little Rock 9 in Arkansas, just raise your hands. If you could say it in like 3 sentences, 2 sentences, not deep dive, I'm not asking you to write an essay. Just if you have some reference point to those 2 important moments in history, desegregating the Montgomery bus boycott and Little Rock, just raise your hands. Keep it up. All right. No, you have to keep it up. Don't stop, see? All right, educators in the room now. Keep your hand up high. Now, drop your hand or keep it up if you can tell me about desegregating Miami-Dade Transit or Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Nearly every hand falls. Look around. A handful of hands stay up. That matters because civil rights is not something that happens in this larger context, it happens here. And so if we don't know the name of the freedom fighters of Miami, it's okay to know Martin Luther King Jr., but do you know Father Theodore Gibson from Overtown, who made it possible for our schools to be desegregated by filing lawsuits against the Miami-Dade County public school system? Do we know about desegregating Miami-Dade Transit? Because Black folks sat in the back of the bus here. And if we don't know, that's not justice. And so that is why I do this work. And much of that work rooted in service, rooted in truth-telling, rooted in navigating and telling the stories that are made invisible happened here at Barry University. The foundation of that curiosity was stoked here and was supported here. And if you don't know these stories, I invite you to know them now. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our social justice honoree of the year, Mrs. Nadege Green.